وتواصوا بالصبر. The 4 criteria for people who are excluded from being in loss: people who have faith, they do good deeds individually, and then when they get together, they remind each other of the truth. Beautiful. One word summarizes everything. That when people should always be looking for the truth, and when they get together, they should remind each other. Now, under truth, you can put anything. Truth can be religious knowledge, scientific, anything. Duties, obligations, advice, correction, anything that can be put under truth. And then, because truth is not easy, then they support each other in pursuing this. وتواصوا بالصبر. تواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. That's what believers should be doing whenever they get together. Should always try to fulfill these criteria of tawasi. A beautiful concept in Islam that we don't hear them anymore. Tazkiyah, tawasi, tawasi, or tanasah. So, again, as I said, if you want to follow this road, you know that's not going to be easy. That's why you need patience. Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, says that if only this surah was revealed, it would be enough for people. Only if only this surah was revealed, it would be enough for people. And Luqman, salam, when he gave his son the advices, he said, وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ. Because once you're going to do this job, you're going to do what needs to be done, you're going to tell people the truth, you want to correct things, people don't like that. People, they want to remain in their comfort zone. They don't want anybody to remind them of reality, they don't want anybody to remind them of obligations, accountability, all of this, people don't like it. So that's why if you're going to pursue this, then you have to be prepared to be patient. Today, inshallah, I'm going to try to, as I said in Jumu'ah, I want to minimize the lecturing part in Sunday to keep it more for questions and answers in the session. Otherwise, it will not add anything, because in Jumu'ah I speak and everybody listen. It's one-way communication. If we come on Sunday and do the same thing, then it's not be as useful. So we want to entertain some questions or comments and take it from there. That's number one. We want to do some evaluation for the great event that we had yesterday. The people who attended, we want to hear what went right, and there are so many things that went right, and what are the deficiencies, so that we document them as long as our memory is still fresh, and then we take the lessons. That's how people improve. People grow not by doing the same thing and finding excuses. Actually, when we do evaluation, we should be a little bit harsh on ourselves so that we can perfect, so that every event or every activity or everything we do is better than the one before. With time, you start polishing and sharpening, etc., until you get something very sophisticated. It doesn't come overnight. And if you wait until then you will do nothing. You have to start, and that's why I like what happened yesterday. But we need to sit down and evaluate, and then document that evaluations for future lessons, so that we can go back and say, these are the things that we identified that we need to improve. These are the things we identified that are good, we need to keep them. Third, we want, if the time allows, we need to discuss ways on having a special class for young people. We got some feedback, very good feedback. Our focus here, because of the audience, is mostly adults. If we are talking to young people, it's not going to change the message, but we'll tweak it in a way that we will focus on their questions and their problems, and therefore we'll drop ours. we drop our problems and focus on theirs. So I need your help and your suggestions on how we can work together on putting a special session for young people and make it open. Anybody is welcome. There is no requirement. There is no profile. There is any questions are welcome. So we need to do that, and we need to do it as soon as possible. All right, let's get started. Again, I'm going to start with comments, questions, and then take some time to do some quick evaluations of yesterday's event, and then we discuss suggestions on how to improve, how to have an event for you. Go ahead, the floor is yours. Yes. If you have questions on the Jumu'ah, it's you're very welcome, or if you have general questions also.
So just I will point out about the yes that we have. I personally didn't expect that so many people to attend to come. It was good, alhamdulillah. But from our side, we were not very prepared. It didn't look very organized. And, I was there.
Just hold on.
Yeah.
We're going to do this next.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll divide, inshallah, 3 segments. We're going to do this next. Okay. Now, general questions about what we have been talking about, suggestions, comments, etc. Again, the Sunday class is supposed to be more interactive because one-way communication is never good and never effective. I need to see myself in the middle of this. Yes.
You talked about Islam, the mission that we're on, the role that we're supposed to be filling, and why we fell behind as a group or as a nation, as individuals. You attributed that to the individuals not taking on their own self-development and continuing to grow that. Are you ever going to discuss how do we fix that, other than just outlining the problem? So how am I as an individual going to fix that? Where do I start, and how do we impact the eccentric circles from that point forward?
How do you, last part?
How do we impact the circle? Like, how do we expand the circle from me to my family to the community?
That's a very good question. There are no more ready questions. I can proceed to discuss because that probably can take the whole thing, the whole time that we have. I was focusing, and I always focus on diagnosis because I believe that if you have the right diagnosis, usually the solution will pop. Most of our problems is we don't do the proper diagnosis, and we end up sometimes working very hard, but not dealing with the problem. And it was reported that great scientist Einstein says, I spend 90% of my time diagnosing the problem, 10% looking for a solution. Because if you have really the proper, like any physician will tell you, if you have the proper diagnosis, solution will pop up. So that's not bad to focus on the problem until you really put your finger on or get to the bottom of it. Because usually a solution will be easier to develop. But still, we can't keep diagnosing without solutions. That's one thing. The second is, before we get branched out in terms of different things that needs to be done, I always focus on the key. The key that got the companions on the right track, and then everything else, including self-development, everything came because of that key. The key for me is embracing Islam as a mission. Not as a religion, not as a way of life, not as a culture, not embracing Islam as a mission. It's like the day you take a new job. That should be your attitude when you become a Muslim. It's not like you're going to start praying. It's no, you took a mission. You took a mission, and you need to you're going to dedicate. That's what you do when you declare Shahada. But because our Arabic language became very poor, the Shahada goes very superficial for us. They understood exactly what it means. That's a complete transformation in the life of the individual. That's a sense of direction. When you say you take Allah as your Lord or worship, and then exclusive, and then Muhammad as a leader or messenger, that's a major transformation from someone who was living for himself, a life without a purpose, without a direction. So for me, if this is done right, almost everything will follow. All the pieces of the puzzle will follow. Then we'll be talking about practical steps, which is needed. Also, they are needed. But if this is not there, then it will be very useless to do the rest. So that's why I keep insisting, because all the components of Islam stems from this sense of mission. For me, if I don't take Islam as a mission, I have no motivation to do self-development. I don't have any religious motivation, at least, to do self-development. I have no motivation to reach out to people and to be socially open. I can live by myself. I have no motivation to be civically engaged if I don't embrace Islam as a mission. And even if I do these things, they become like hobbies, not something that I take it very serious. So that's the key. And that's why I keep insisting on this. Because if that step is done right, then it's like you put somebody on the right track and then things will fall. They say, well begun is half done. Anything that you started right, that's half of the job is done there. So if you embrace Islam as a mission, meaning what? Meaning I'm going to find out what is expected from me. What is it that Allah expects me to do? What is it that Allah created me to do? What is it that Allah assigned me to do? And do it. Which means I'm going to keep always climbing to a higher level, challenging myself. That's where self-development is going to come in. Because that's where you should be, that's where we are. Right now what we're doing, we did the opposite. We brought the religion down to our level. Made it very convenient. Rather than for us living up to the requirement. So we brought it down, and that's what we do most of the time. When we cannot achieve goals, we reduce them. So a temporary goal becomes the ultimate goal. And that's, unfortunately, is very common in our culture. So we take Islam as a mission means what? Means your responsibility now, as you mentioned, is going to go beyond yourself, beyond your family, beyond. It's a huge sense of responsibility. That you start feeling responsible for what happens in society. Because everything, at least in the community, but it should go more. Because everything happens because of what we do. And because of what we fail to do. That's why things happen. Take that sense of responsibility for what happened, then you take the sense of responsibility for changing it. You want to change, you're going to have to start with yourself. Because if that's the thing that you control the most. If you cannot change yourself, you cannot change anything. You can't change people, you can't change anything. That's where you start from. If everything else after yourself is going to be difficult. Even changing yourself is not easy. But of course, at least you are in control. Nobody is sharing with you. Of course, except Shaitan working against you. But at least, once you want to change another individual, then it's going to be more difficult. Because there is a resistance, there is a culture, there is etc. Once you want to change the reality around you, then it's going to be difficult because there are people who want to keep it as is. Or there are groups and people who like the reality the way it is. And you want to be working against it. So start with changing yourself. And then if I take Islam as a mission that is about making people better people and making society better society, then I have to interact with people and they have to be engaged. So you can see how things follow. That's why I focus on that. And the whole paradigm, the Islamic paradigm, collapsed because of that lack of sense of mission. It's like you took the engine off the car. That's it. So now people are praying, people are doing a lot of things, but it's unrelated, and they're not leading anywhere. You can find somebody who has been Muslim for so long, but did not improve a bit and did not have any impact on anything. or anybody. Why? Not because he or she doesn't want to do it, because that's the way they were taught to stand, right? Now, if we want to go to practical steps, practically, for example, if we take the concept of self-development, which is essential, because also it's another key that opens the door for the rest. How can you have a positive influence on someone if you are not someone who is distinguished? I mean, why should I follow you or look up for you if I don't feel that there is something special about you? That's why people came to Yusuf alayhi salam in prison, because they saw someone who is distinguished. And that's what makes people ready to hear from you. Why? Because you're somebody who's successful, very good character, very good manners, etc. Then I can say, I want to be like this person, or I want to be mentored by this person, or I want to learn how this person reached this level so that I can do the same. So that's why there is no way you can have a positive influence on anybody before you creating that gap. Creating the gap being someone who's distinguished. Same thing for civic engagement. I mean, there is no way you can be effective in civic engagement unless you learn about how the society functions, how the system functions, etc. And that's part of self-development. Learning and knowledge is part of self-development. If that's the case, if someone bought into the idea and I need practical steps on how to do this. There is no self-development without planning, without challenging yourself with goals to achieve. That's what people they do in the beginning of every year, those New Year resolutions. That's one of the reasons why people are not improving, because they never set for goals for themselves, so that you can come at the end of the year and evaluate yourself. I mean, these are the goals I set for myself for 2016. By the end of 2016, I can sit down and hold myself accountable. If I didn't set any goal, then there is no standard. There is no indicators. There is nothing to compare against. So setting yourself goals. When it comes to self-development, the best thing is the best self-development plan is the one that is comprehensive and balanced. Comprehensive means these are my goals in terms of health, these are my goals in terms of profession, these are my goals in terms of family, these are my goals in terms of everything. You name it. Knowledge, character, these are the bad character that I'm going to work on, going to get rid of them. These are the things I need to acquire. These are the books that I'm going to read. This is how my goal is when it comes to the Quran this year. That's very comprehensive and balanced, so that you don't progress on one direction and lag behind on the rest. And that's always something that is not easy to achieve, especially with life that's very demanding these. And we talked about this, I think, for a couple of sessions or more, actually, about self-development, starting from spiritual to character, if you remember, intellectual, etc. These are the different aspects of, and we reached a conclusion that without a very effective management of our time, there is very little we can do. Because the time under our control is very short. Almost the whole day is out of your control. So you have very limited time that you control. If you are not very strict in managing that time, and if you don't try to increase what they call production capacity, there is production capacity. Production, if you have a factory, for example, and you have machines, you can keep working using these machines 8 hours, 16, and then 24 hours. That's the maximum. If you want to go higher, then you need bigger machines. That's what they say, you improve your capacity because you reach the maximum production. That's the same thing for individuals. You need to acquire more skills, because with more skills you can do a lot more in shorter time. Become more resourceful, more connected, etc., so that you can do more. So strict management of our time, and also building your capacity. Building your capacity I mentioned a very simple example one time, very obsolete by now. But I personally like that example, something that happened to me. When I came to this country, the first paper I did in graduate school, we had to type it, and at that time we didn't know how to type, so it took me more time to type it than to prepare it. And when I asked, they said, every class have more paper or more, so this is not going to work. You're going to have to solve this problem from the roots. Of course, everybody will tell you, don't try. We tried before, learning typing by yourself. Everybody will discourage you when you try to take anything, any new initiative. I bought a book from the library, 30 lessons, 30 days, was able to start typing with all my fingers quickly. And I cannot count the time I saved over 20 years because of that. Because of that, something that I took care of it very early on. You can imagine every time I wrote anything, whether for work or for anything, you can imagine how much time was saved just because learning how to type. Again, very simple example. You can build on it. Any skills, any tools, any resources that you have can help you achieving much more with the same amount of time. I'm just mentioning very general examples, but we have a guide, about 90 pages on self-development and civic engagement. Mostly it's on self-development. Do you have a copy of it? You don't. Do we still have copies?
We don't have hard copies, but I can send the PDF copy through the email. I sent a copy out already through email, but maybe some members didn't get it.
Okay, so that's a good starting point. It's guide. I mean, I hate to tell people to spoon feed people. I believe that people can figure out things. It's just some advice, some direction, etc. on self-development on all the aspects, from spiritual to everything else. So that's one thing. Second thing we may think of is, like we did a workshop on the whole intellectual idea, we can do a one-day workshop on this part. And that will be good practical. Then we can go through the different aspects and different, because for me, this whole project that we're talking about is two steps. One is buying into the idea. That's where we covered the book I published. And then the second part is, if you buy into the idea, then how to implement it. And that's the second step, which is basically we want people to embody this, meaning that this idea should be implemented in our lives. We have to go through that change. And then, so that when you talk to people, you're not going to be talking theoretically. Like Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to tell people, just do as you see me doing. So it's not theoretical. It's, if you are someone who's socially open, or civically engaged, who is very active, working hard on developing himself, then it will be very easy to sell the idea to somebody else, because you're doing it already. So the second part, if someone buys into the idea, second part is, one is master it to the point that becomes yours, so that you can explain it. Second, embody it, meaning implement it. Third, spread the word. And we have to learn all these things. We have to help each other master this idea, because it is something that I understand a concept. It is another thing that I understand it to the point I can explain it. And if you ask any teacher, they will tell you this. There's a big difference between you understand material for you, or you understand it to the level that you can teach. That's the level we need to reach. That someone grasps this idea to the point that you can explain it in 30 seconds, you can explain it in a whole day. You know it, you can defend it, you can answer questions, etc. So let's think about that. Practically, try to schedule a one-day workshop, like we did the first time, and gear this into the implementation, and focus on those aspects. Did I answer the question?
Perfect.
Okay. More questions? More comments, more feedback?
I have one
Sure.
question, comment. People sometimes complaining to me about Friday prayer, that you are repeating the same message every week.
Okay.
I understand your point.
Mhm.
And really every time I come Friday prayer, I hear the same message, but every time I hear something new. Every time, seriously, you come up with one word, one sentence, new to me, and this is more than enough. But just explain to the people this concept of why you are concentrating in one issue every Friday prayer.
That's a very good point. I can do the traditional khutbah. That's much easier for me, by the way. To take a verse and the hadith and come, read them, and then read their explanation, that's much easier. But that's, for me, right now, it's useless. You are building on a very shaky foundation. And that's something that I call wa'ad, which is just a reminder or admonition, that doesn't build the mindset. The effect of such khutbah will end at the door of the masjid. It's like energy drink. You read it, I mean, it gets you excited during the khutbah. I can give you stories of prophets, stories of companions, you like it. I tell you, alhamdulillah, community is growing, we are doing a very good job, and we are the best nation in the history and the world, but that doesn't do anything. We're fooling ourselves. That's one. So I think more focusing on changing the mindset of the individual rather than feeding information, which they say, don't give me fish, teach me how to fish. That's the key. I mean, it's not that every time you come and you receive something passively, and as I said, the effect of it will disappear at the door of the masjid. And no. Now those new things that you mentioned, these are the building blocks that I think will bring someone to the point they don't need me. They don't need them. They got it. They have the tools and they can start process information, because knowledge is not information. Knowledge is the ability to process information. Knowledge is the ability to process information. Because sometimes people come and say, this person memorized the whole Quran. It may mean nothing. Inshallah, Allah will reward him, but if he doesn't understand what he memorized, it doesn't mean nothing. Or this person memorized the Bukhari, all the hadith in Bukhari. Nowadays, you can put them on database, searchable, and it's not a big achievement. It's good, but it's not a big achievement. When you read a hadith, do you know what does it mean? Can you apply it in your life? Can you explain it? Do you have the tools to do this? And then focusing on giving people the tools. That's one. Second, my understanding of the seerah of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they say it actually, it was narrated that Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam rabba ashabahu bi jawami al-kalim. Jawami al-kalim means the key words, the key concepts. So Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam trained and taught his companions not by bombarding them with information, but giving them some key concepts and key words. One of the companions narrated that the Prophet used to empty us and fill us. That's what I'm trying to do, as much as I can, which is trying to change concept, change definitions of things, and try to tackle the things that are holding us back, the wrong concept that we were given, and they're creating confusion and holding us back. Unless these are cleared, so that one of the job of the prophets is what? Is to free people. يَضَعْ عَنْهُمْ إِصْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. Removes the shackles. That's what Allah says in Surah Al-A'raf. That prophets, they free people. In our culture and in the way we were taught Islam, we have a lot of things that are holding us back and creating confusion and don't allow us to move in any direction. That's what I'm focusing to remove these. Give people some sense of direction. Give people tools to better understand this deal. So that, again, with the concept of don't give me fish, teach me how to fish. I mean, I always need feedback and need improvement. There is no question about it. And any feedback is more than welcome. Everybody who tried, they knew that I love to get feedback. because that helps me seeing myself in the mirror and go back and do some adjustments. But that's where I'm coming from. Third, if you think about it, this whole Quran and this whole Islam has one message. If you read the whole Quran, the Quran has a message. It's a Quran, it's a book of Tawheed. The Quran is leading you to one message. It's just coming from different angles. That's what I'm trying to do sometimes. It's Quran will give you the same message, but in a different context. How? One time, in some parts of the Quran, you will find direct orders. Do and don't do. And these are not the biggest part of the Quran. In other parts, the same message. It's just the context is changed. Allah will not tell you do or what don't do. He will tell you the people who did this, they ended up in Jannah. Actually, the verse says some people are successful and that ended up in heaven. That's why. Why? To draw your attention, to ask what these people are doing so that they can do. So it gave you the same message, but this time it's not an order, it's a recommendation. Allah loves these people. It's another way to say that's what you should be doing. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Successful are the believers. The immediate question that comes to your mind, who are these people, what they are doing? And then comes the criteria. Or the opposite. قَالَ مَا سَلَكَكُمْ فِي سَقَرٍ. Why you ended up in hellfire? That's to draw your attention to see what these people have done so that they ended up in hellfire, so that you don't do the same. So that's another context. The third context in the Quran is the stories of people before us. Qasas, full of. It's again delivering the same message, but telling you some people did this, that's what happened to them. So not only in the day of judgment, but it happened in this life to them. But the whole Quran has only one message. And Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I keep mentioning this, in Mecca, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was not talking about prayer because prayer was not prescribed yet. Prayer, as we know, it was prescribed in Isra and Mi'raj, which was very late in Mecca, almost the last year, or a couple of years before he migrated. It's awesome. He didn't tell them about zakat, it was not prescribed yet. He was not telling them about fasting because it was not prescribed yet. All of these was done in Medina. No talk about Hajj because there was no Hajj prescribed yet. Alcohol was not forbidden in Mecca. All of this was done. So what Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was doing in Mecca, it's building that mindset, getting that full commitment, getting people to understand their mission deeply, not necessarily by a lot of information, but by those key concepts that Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam embedded or ingrained in the minds and the hearts of the companions. Again, we're trying to do something similar because I believe the amount of damage that happened to the Muslim mindset and to the Muslim psychology is very deep. It's very devastating. That's not our fault. That's because we came in a nation that was under dictatorship, oppression, and occupation for 15 centuries. Because what they call Khilafah, actually that's what it is. I mean, we call it Khilafah, but if you want to be very objective and fair, it was an empire like all other empires. I mean, yes, it was benign, yes, there was some application of the hudud or the Islamic, but at the end of the day, it's not you selecting your leader. I mean, that's what people nowadays are revolting against. What you're revolting against, that's what Muslims accepted for 15 centuries. That somebody dies and his son becomes your leader. And you have no say in it. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes I don't know why we find it so bad now. But when we talk about Khilafah, we talk about as if it was something great. But that's what was happening. What was happening is what we call Tawreed. That everybody family is ruling. And people have no say. I don't think, many rulers of Bani Umayyah or Bani Abbas, Muslims will choose them if they have the right, if they have the choice. So if you live for so long in that context, that creates a lot of damage. Of course, the damage that's done in 1 century of occupation is even multiple than that, because occupation is something extremely bad. It hurts the self-confidence, the self-esteem, that somebody else is ruling you, is occupying you. That also caused across-the-board devastation. I believe that damage cannot be treated superficially. We can't build on it. It's a very shaky foundation. We have to restore that foundation so that we can build. For me, anybody who talk about some minor issues without focusing on that foundation, it's like you have a building that is very, very bad shape and you are trying to decorate it. That's unfortunately what some people do. I don't think that's a good thing to do. We really need to get to the... People are used to it. In the beginning, it was much more offending. When you tell people that our situation is bad and it's getting worse, they don't like it. Because you're getting them out of their comfort zone and you are taking away their painkiller so that they can face the problem. And I always say that no matter how bad the situation, it's never too late to fix it. We just have to face it. We have to acknowledge it so that we can fix it. But as long we are in denial, as long we are looking at the problem superficially, there is nothing that can be resolved. So it's bad, yes, it's very bad. But it's hopeless? No, it is not. There are nations that went into much deeper trouble and they came out. And let's always remember what Islam did in the early days. No matter how bad our situation is, at least we're not worshipping idols and we're not killing each other for silly issues, even though nowadays in some places it came back happening, but at least over here we are in much better shape than that. So that's...
If I may interject a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I would not be much, first and foremost, the reinforcement is the best mechanism for people to change. The Quran is the best example. Allah knows human psyche better than anyone.
Oh, yeah.
The subject, like let's say shirk, Allah has repeated time after in so many different ways. Again, so people don't follow that kind of, today. So those who are somewhat complaining, that is in a way repeating, I think because they haven't changed and they don't want to change. Because if the society had changed, we would not be repeating it.
Mm-hmm.
We would be practicing it.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, reputation is a reinforcement. And on top of that, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, they all confirm. The important the message is, just reinforce it. We see the effectiveness of the reinforcement in advertising, how they brainwash you.
Yeah.
You see, one time, second time, ultimately it succeeds. So that's my just thought on it.
Very good, this concept of reinforcement. Because you know what? The traditional khutbah produced people who know a lot and they do nothing. There is almost schizophrenia. Nowadays, you can pull a Muslim, he will tell you a lot of hadith, a lot of verses, a lot of things about the deen. Now go to see how he conducts himself, you'll see the discrepancy. Why? Because of the lack of this reinforcement. The reinforcement is that the concept needs to be ingrained and reinforced, etc., until it becomes second nature. But to tell me something once, I will remember it, I will probably learn it, but it may disappear, and even if it stays in my memory, it will not sink in. That's basically the same thing, by the way, when students prepare for a test. There are many students who make this mistake. They prepare, they think they got it, but they forget this concept of reinforcement, and material has to sink in to do well in the test. Not you know. Because at the test, not only you need to know how to solve the problem, or you need to know the material, there is an issue of time. Then I have to be quick. And then there is an issue of sometimes you are used to typical problems, and you come and find the problem changed in the test. If the material is not really clear in your mind to the point that you can tackle any problem, no matter how much they change it, then you will not do well. So that reinforcement is essential.
And also, in order to understand this, why many courses have the labs. Again, so you understand it properly, because when you try to implement it, then it becomes more clear, the concept.
Not even more courses, the same material, almost in any field. You will find like 3 or 4 courses on thermodynamics, 3 or 4 courses or 5 on heat transfer, etc. Why is that? It's mostly reinforcement. In the beginning, you just get the introduction, the very vague idea, and then you get into deeper and deeper until it becomes, you start thinking the way you're supposed to think in that subject. Yes?
I came in late. I don't know if anyone commented about yesterday.
No, we're going to come to this probably now. Just hold on.
Okay.
We're going to do some quick evaluation. Probably this is the last question.
Oh, sorry. The concept of setting objectives.
Yes.
You said it would be better to do a comprehensive assessment. Plan. In this area, and so on. Sometimes I believe if you set many objectives and higher objectives, that might be a deterrent stopping you from doing this. So basically, try to do as much as you can right. So do it slowly and do the objective gradually, but maintain that and doing it slowly, but steadfast. Rather than many objectives that I want to do. I have so many things I want to do. But it's overpowering. It's too much. So I just focus on a few maybe this year. And then make it a habit, and it becomes part of me, as you said. Reinforcement becomes a habit.
I totally agree. What I meant is not to have objectives in one area only. But you're right, you shouldn't. They say the key for objectives is challenging but doable. I mean, you don't set something that is really unrealistic, because that will lead to disappointment. You find yourself did nothing. But also, you need the objectives have to be challenging. You have to, the objective has to push you or to challenge you or to push yourself. So that's exactly what they said. It's you can say small or gradual improvement but in all areas. I mean, I take them one by one and they say, what is my goal in this regard? But when I set the goal, I have to keep in mind that I have other goals, so I don't set unrealistic goals. And as you said, the key is to be persistent, consistent, and always when you achieve something, make sure that you keep it and you build on it. Always. And that's not always easy, which is maintain what you have. Keep what you have and build on it. Some people, a lot of times they get so excited, like from the book they read or the khutbah or anything, they get so excited, and then they decide to do a lot quickly. And of course, if you go with the elevator, you're going to come down with an elevator. If you go up with an elevator, you're going to come down with the elevator, which means that a few days after that, the whole thing will collapse. That's not a good practice.
It's like hadith that says, "Ma qalla wa dam."
أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قل. The most beloved deeds to Allah are the ones that are persistent, even if they are small. All right, we're going to switch to do some quick evaluation. Yes.
Small comments, though.
Sure.
Beginning of the lecture, you mentioned that you're going to change the trend of the Sunday lecture, that you're going to build on based on your khutbah on Friday. Some of us are not here on Fridays, so we're only going to be here on Sundays. So if you just can make add a little bit more into your lecture on Sunday,
Sure.
to fill us in on what happened on Friday. That would.
That's a very good idea. And we did this a few times. We'll start with some summary. But when I said that, I didn't mean to exclude general questions. Even if somebody was not here in Jumu'ah, the thing that I insist on is to make Sunday more interactive. It's not one-way communication. This is more effective, so that I know what to address and what people have in mind. And also, we're all here to learn. I mean, the feedback, the comments, the questions help. All right, quick feedback. Again, take a couple minutes. Just tell us what you think was done right and what you think need to be improved. And please take notes, because again, that's the way we can improve, is by evaluation and holding ourselves accountable for what we do. Very quickly. Yes, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go very quick. One thing I wish they added, just like a brief summary of what is Islam. So many of these people don't know what is Islam. Just briefly, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, just to give an idea what is Islam. And my daughter also was suggesting if they had displays, like maybe Muslim Student Association, explain the different concepts, explaining, what is Islam, maybe they had some brochures. So if people wanted to go around the room and maybe
Table or...
take, some brochures and maybe see some displays, get some idea for people interested.
Okay. Let's not try to discuss, we're just going to document, because we need to get as many feedback as possible. But he's taking notes in the back, so quickly, please. Everybody should have something to say.
Yeah. Maybe I talked to him as well regarding the management of the event we had yesterday. Yesterday evening, we need to have a small meeting before that one, other than this. And we need to have a plan what you're going to do, who's taking what job, so that they shouldn't be distracted. See, some people were coming, going to look for something. And other people, there was a place, sister was holding that one, and the food was coming in, and she didn't let me to put that up. Says it's mine.
Okay. Better organizations, have a committee, detail the tasks assigned.
Yeah, assigned that when we have a small meeting, ourselves before any event other than this. So we can assign who should do what and in what manner.
Very good. That's something probably we all agree. Next. Again, can mention something that was done good. We need to keep it. Something that needs improvement.
Just one thing quick about the lines. We had people starting from that side and that side, and they were running into each other. Yeah. So maybe next time we have it's like a one way, both lanes going one way.
Very good. That's part of better organization and better planning. Next, yes.
At our table, there were some people, some of the guests who are asking for copies of the Quran.
That goes with the brother's suggestion to be prepared with some literatures, either distribute or in case people distributing want to stay away from it, because we don't want people to say that but making it available. Making it available if somebody is interested. So, but distributing, they may think that the whole thing is done just to inject it. But making Islamic literature and Quran available, that's a very good idea. Yes.
Yeah. Overall was, our first time, okay, it was good. But think about the mic and people were not listening. Should be, clear, the presentation, how to, make them listen, because there was a distraction, So that, the mic was not loud, and people they were not listening in the back. So.
Okay, got that? Got it? All right. Next. Yes.
I think we should have started before the speeches. We should have started reversing Quran so they can hear
better management of the time, and then starting with the Quran. Starting with the Quran recitation. Everybody.
So I met a couple of people at the front door. When the event was, it was assigned to the door, but you could
Yeah, guiding people, that's also part of the organization. One person will be out there so that you can guide people or have signs so that it will be very easy for someone who park to find someone to guide them to that place, because not everybody knows the structure of the mosque, including people who pray. Next.
I think it was a good first step because we had been debating about whether to hold this kind of event. So it's a good learning experience for all of us.
My sense is that the number of non-Muslim American relatively not that great. Then again, it's
But much greater than we expected.
So, okay, so
Especially in
alhamdulillah.
this environment.
Yeah, right, alhamdulillah. But all I was going to say that maybe every one of us that comes in there try to sponsor a guest, bring it, have them more participate.
Very good. Yes.
a lot of people were hesitant to bring coworkers, colleagues, because it wasn't very certain.
Voice.
It wasn't very certain, so maybe it's all with the planning. Like next time, it's a learning experience. Next time, we should just have that. More people would be, especially after this first time, seeing it was more successful than most people thought it would go. Then more people would be encouraged to bring.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's also something that it all feeds into each other. If we have better planning, better organization, etc., and then having confirmation, knowing how many people are going to come, knowing that things are under control, well organized, every one of us will be much more encouraged to invite colleagues and neighbors because you have, but for starting, for the first time, we didn't know what to expect in terms of who's going to come, we didn't know how it's going to go, and it was a very short notice, and it was a wonderful job given the time, etc. So, but I think if it is well planned, knowing exactly there are some people who already confirmed, we know how many are coming, it's under control, it's by invitation, etc., then each one of us will be very, very encouraged to invite colleagues and neighbors. Yes.
I just want to take this opportunity to commend Brother Bassett and Brother Khalid because they took the initiative of going out, especially in this environment. You didn't know what to expect, like knocking on doors, how people are going to receive you, so they deserve a lot of...
Yes, yes. On Friday, Jum'ah went door to door. Here, as I said, it's not something easy to do.
Yeah, I was thinking, I would like to see what the non-Muslims think of the event. Maybe we could have a short survey towards the end of the event, asking
Very
participants,
Very
what
good.
do you think of the event?
Very good.
What did you learn? What would you like to see next time?
Very good. Survey, feedback from the people. Yes.
Just for last one, what you said, I received 2 emails yesterday from both American, non-Muslim. One of them I don't know. He sent me email, he said, it was great. We have a system, but in general, he claimed he learned a lot about Islam. And the other one, he sent me text message. Same thing, you know.
Very good. And we heard feedback on the spot.
But I need to talk, it's all these social events about head counts, how many people comes. We can put the great food if nobody show up.
Yeah.
And how we need to bring people in, this was the most challenging thing to me. I saw Brother Stamatus, he sent 55 emails about this event. I said myself, this 55 individual with this, their spouse, this 110, and if each one of these people invite just one with his wife, we should be here 220. We didn't see that. But it's me, some of us didn't show up or didn't bother to tell their friends to show up. I am asking why. We are not asking you to do anything. Just bring you and your wife and ask one friend, not that much.
All right, let me tell you how I perceived this event. For me, it was a breakthrough, and without exaggeration. As I said, I'm not known to exaggerate. I want to always focus on the negative to improve more than. And it was a breakthrough in terms of we have been talking about something. One of us took the initiative to turn that into action, and it took place. It happened. It happened in a very unhealthy environment, very unfavorable, the whole environment for such events. So from this, it's really great in terms of I learned something, and they take the initiative to implement it, and they don't wait and I push and etc. That's what is needed in Muslims today. That spirit of udkhul alayhim al-bab, that just start something, just initiate something. Don't wait until it will be perfect, because you're going to wait forever. You can start and then things will improve. So I think it was great. I personally said it, that expect everything, including that nobody will show up. In this environment, it was very much expected. So really the response was beyond expectation. Now, you need to take into consideration the impact of this. The people who attended, I'm sure for some of them, if not all, it has changed something in their minds. Because you hear everything bad every day about Muslims, and then you go and see something different. That's a big, will have a big impact. Each one of them has a lot of people around them. So now we'll be talking about Muslims not from what they heard about them, but from their interaction with them. So I think these outweighs any deficiencies in the planning, etc., because that's expected. You're doing something for the first time. You don't know what to expect. Yes, organizations needs a lot of improvement, and it can be improved. We can sit down, have a long time to plan it, have more people involved, distribute the tasks more, and do it at the American standard, not at our standard. Do it at the American standard, which people, when they plan these events, they don't leave anything for chance. Everything is taken into consideration and calculated. But we took one step, no matter how small it is, in the right direction, which is opening up to our environment, which everyone should be replicating in your neighborhood. We try to open up the masjid to the neighborhood. That's what every Muslim should be doing in their neighborhood. Not necessarily in the same way, but opening up, reaching out, getting out of this isolation. Believe me, we can sit down and keep complaining about Islamophobia and media, etc. It's not going to do anything. This is the nature of the game in this country. That's you have to accept it. And I always say that we exaggerate when we talk about what's happening to Muslims. We really are exaggerating. I mean, compared to the disaster that took place since 9/11, the reaction of this country is really much lower than any other country in the world. So, but we got used to complaining, etc. And we're gonna have the only way to deal with this, rather than sitting down in the mosque and cursing this channel or that channel and this reporter and that candidate. That's not going to do us any good. It is what we did yesterday. Small but gradual diffusion of telling your story and present yourself rather than allowing somebody else to do it for you. That's what we're doing now. We're allowing somebody else to introduce us to the public the way they want. What we did yesterday, even though it's small, but it is the way to open up and to introduce ourselves and tear down this barrier. Because unfortunately, the misconception that I was talking about earlier, that's what kept us isolated. And we are isolated by design, not by coincidence. We're isolated because there are a lot of concepts in Islam. We are told that these are kuffar and you shouldn't interact with them, and you have to, in order to preserve your faith, you shouldn't be dealing with these people. And all of this nonsense that we were bombarded with, that's what resulted in this isolation. What we have been focusing on, which is that these are human beings, they're our brothers and sisters in a huge family called humanity, they're our fellow citizens, they're our neighbors, they're our colleagues. We're going to have to concentrate on that, and when we deal with them as a human being, and we focus on commonalities. We have to forget this binary attitude that this is Muslim, that's Kafir. These are human beings. Judgment Allah reserves for Himself. Your job here is not to judge people. Your job here is to be the best ambassador of Islam and to maximize your contribution to the common good. So I think we're going to have to build on it. Very good step. And I really commend the brothers and whoever was involved in this, because it's out of the blue, in a very unfavorable environment. They managed to pull out something very, very decent. I mean, even the organization that we're talking about, it could have been much, much worse. It's very decent. There is a lot of room for improvement, but as a first time, it was very decent.
I think the time the administration for the mosque,
Yeah.
they were very helpful. I didn't think they would do what they did.
Good. Last part, which is crucial. I got some feedback, very good ones. Feedback about talking with young people. Many of the issues that we focus here, they're not relevant for young people, and we have to acknowledge that. One of the reasons I focus on first generation, not only because that's the type of the audience, but it is very much, it's still dominant in our community. Most decisions, most organizations are not led by young people. They're still led by the first generation, most mosques. Unless we do something with that generation, we're going nowhere. So I know it's a damage control compared to working with young people who are beyond a lot of problems, but also it is not fair to be addressing problems that are not relevant for young people in their presence. So what I'm suggesting and want to hear from you is to work together to have a different session for young people talking
أشهد أن لا إله
Any thoughts, any suggestions? I know we are very late in terms of reaching, having that what I call age continuum, where you have generations working with younger generations. We lost a lot, but it's never too late to try to catch up. Any idea, any suggestion, any volunteers want to try to spearhead the effort of putting together some sort of...
I think to solve the problem, we need to create mentorship program. So can we bring the early graduate college who's working in computer science or any field of, create a program for them to teach the younger generation about what they study. We can bring these people back to the mystery, but we will spend money on that. We can start from there. At least we will have both sides, the early 20 and the teenager together. With our interference, I think we can do something.
That's good suggestions. Yes.
I suggest maybe we should among ourselves how to deal with the generational gap between us, the first generation, and the second generation. And it depends, as Brother said, depends on age. Like how do we deal with very young ones, age 5, 9, 10, and then the teens, and then how to deal with the ones that are in college. Now the difficulty will be, for example, us, first generation, how to bring your college kid into the mosque. How do we interact, understanding this gap, understanding these differences in psyche and mentality? I think we need to be educated first ourselves.
Well, all of this needs that we have access and we can talk to young people, because we're not here to plan for them. What I'm thinking is the more of how can we reach out and get access, and then discuss with them ways on how can practical steps. So it's not like we're gonna decide on what needs to be done. I'm more thinking about how can we put together some sort of meeting or gathering, or and then open these issues and questions with them, actually, and hear from them what is the best way they can mentor, or they can be mentored, or they can help, or what help they need. All of this. It's more than us speaking on their behalf while they're not around. Even though I see some young people around, probably you need to tell us something.
So what?
Just suggestion on what do you think is best way, or how can we close this gap and work with young people?
Try to understand them. Try to understand like what they're kind of going through, what they see, how will they see different things, like going to the mosque, maybe like something kind of favorable, going with your family somewhere to this event, like make it not seem like such a big thing, such a burden on them, like it's not something hard to do, it's something like easy, hey, let's go there, that's good, so.
That's interesting. Do you have an idea in mind on how can we like get together with a group of young people and discuss these things openly? Anybody want to volunteer? No, I see. Go ahead.
Yeah, we could do, like a workshop for youth or an event like we did yesterday for the youth.
We don't need event now. You need talking
to
time.
bring them.
You need to,
But
that's not the problem. The problem is
How to bring them.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's it.
we need something to attract them. I mean, it's not like, even sometimes like, he says like, it costs money or something. If you want to attract, oh, we'll pay you to come in. Then they come for the money, not for the cause, not for the...
But we made the money to be teacher or something.
Yeah, but then it'd be like a job to them.
All right.
It's not like...
Yes, quickly, please.
I was thinking that like we could reach out to there must be a pool of young Muslims at George Mason, the MSA there. And, we're like just started college, whatever, to get their ideas because they're not so far removed from the deans, so maybe a fresh perspective on how to approach this.
Yes, quickly.
I really, if you want to get young people here, you don't want to listen, to lectures and long speeches about deen and stuff. Do some sport event, something first, a couple of time, make some teams and they can play and interact by themselves, there's a field, on the masjid. We should be using that and then you bring them slowly, to the deen.
All right, it's almost...
I think the brother here said about Muslim Student Association earlier. He says he has a kid. How do we interact with them and get their assistance?
Yes, Muslim Student Association.
I was just going to say, just pretty much everybody else was saying, that go to the MSAs at the university and talk to the board and attract them to, actually we should go to them actually and just be a part of their groups and then try to attract them to attract others.
All right, any idea from here?
Yeah, my point is aim is already with some lot of thing, right? The point, MSA already doing a lot of stuff in this regard. The point is what? Doing the most? I mean, I think...
Be more involved in
I
society.
think more younger, like teenager, to bring them here, just to make an event and just bring them.
Let me tell you something. Can we start with young people we have here? Can we have set a time?
Yeah.
What?
For like the events that you would do, it attracts people that are already coming here, that already, like their parents with them, they already frequently go into the mosque. You want people that aren't usually going to the mosques to attract them, not the people that already know about all these things. Reach out more to the kind of the parents, reach out to a broader view. So like the people that don't usually come here, they see something like see a reason to come here.
All right, that's the problem. That's even bigger problem, which is, I believe in it, which is be so inclusive that even the ones who don't come, even the ones who don't pay, they feel comfortable coming and welcome and respected. That's a big challenge. What I'm looking for is how can we start with what we have, and then these ideas will be discussed there. And if anyone or group of you can put together, set up a time where we can have special meeting, and that's where we're gonna bounce these ideas. Basically, what can be done with the ones who already come to the masjid, etc., and what can be done even beyond that. And if I don't know if somebody want to volunteer, setting something up.
I think we should do it since we're youth. I think we should set it up since we're trying to attract it.
Okay, can we have a piece of paper? Let's circulate. Just get some emails of young people, and then you can communicate and let me know if you manage to set up a time where we can talk about these issues and possible action items. Then I think that's a good starting point. That's a good starting point. So let's have.
My brother has experience in this budget with the youth. They invited the youth one time to come here. And his kids, they found the stuff boring.
That's what we want to avoid. This time, I want to be a facilitator more than lecturing. It's bringing them and then facilitate. Because these people, they have a lot of talents, they have a lot of creativity, they have a lot of problems, they have a lot of questions, etc. Your job is not to put them somewhere and start lecturing. That's never worked. That's probably what happened. No, that's not what we're going to do. It's inshallah a different approach where we try to play the role of facilitator and mentor more than lecturing and teaching. All right, so put together, Samadius, please, the list of young people here, both sides. Communicate over the email. Let me know what do you think we can do, what best we can do. Again, I always believe, they always say that youth are the future. Most people, they don't mean it. They just say it. Because they keep saying youth are the future, at the same time, they don't give them any room to do anything, except just probably logistics. That's we're gonna have to be true to what we say. I personally believe in young people, and they believe that they just need to be inspired and empowered that they can do a much better job than it is being done now, if they're given the room and the tools and the space. So we're gonna start with this, with what we have, and then we communicate. And then whatever comes out of that email communication will go. All right?
Just quick. There was I guess a request that if the parents in the room, if you find your kids want to get involved in this as well, put your little kids' names in the emails down as well.
Yeah.
So we can have a wider group.
Absolutely. We're going to start with what we have, and then always there is a room to expand. I didn't forget, we'll talk about the workshop for self-development, inshallah, and we're going to set it up. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك